home stretch here. So thank you all again for participating. I understand actually news was made during lunch, the first ever Intelligent Assistance Standards Committee, maybe some ad hoc task force was met over here in one of the suites. So curious to see where that goes. That's obviously very interesting and important to see as the industry evolves, grows, and becomes more of a community. So that's honestly the role that we're doing here with this. So I'm glad to hear that happened. Next up, we have some great presentations. Again, it's a very global international conference. We have Ticketmaster International coming up next with some of the applications they're using from Invented and Ticketmaster Turkey. So first we have these videos. I'm very excited about them. So I'm glad that people participated in the Monday night reception and asked some questions about, again, what they want to learn while they're here, and then what does intelligence assistance mean to them. So I'm just going to play another one right here.
I think that in the near future, customer service will be much more personalized and proactive.
I think intelligent agents could play a huge role with that. It's going to be a smaller role today, obviously, than it will be in the future.
We know that we can be really good at either semantic or statistical parsing and figure out keywords. But what's the next evolution to really mimic the human brain?
I'm always interested to see how others are implementing intelligent virtual assistants, and I think really the key is going to be how we form a consortium together, having our intelligent agents being able to speak to each other.
As the virtual agent gets more connected into accounts and what have you, it'll play a larger part.
The company has to change their strategy, not only to omni-channel solutions, but also that in making really personalized and taking care for the customer instead of waiting them to tell them their problems.
Great, and some good thoughts there. Now we want to bring up Phil Jennings and hear what Ticketmaster is doing with customer service. So, Phil?
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me at the back. I have a little bit of a low tone. That's it, the volume's going up. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here. First time in New York. What a fantastic city. Yeah. What about the buildings, eh? It's like some fantastic phototropic response has happened and they've all grown up vertically. So I just wanted to just stress a couple of important points before I go into the presentation. So first of all, if anybody was thinking whether I could get tickets to a sold-out hot event, I'm afraid the answer is no. So just lead with that, because usually people buttonhole me in the break time and just ask whether I can get these tickets for them. The second one, which is very pertinent to this, is that I don't profess to be an expert in this field at all. Like many people in this room, I guess, I'm here to try and pick up new ideas, to sort of talk and network with people and pick up areas of best practice that I can then go back and hopefully trial in the workplace. And I guess many of you are the same. But I'm particularly happy to be here today just to share our very, I guess, limited trial experience in Turkey. It's still ongoing. I've got some data to share with you, but I think it's quite encouraging. So the first question is why, I guess. Why would Ticketmaster International be interested in using intelligent assistants? And I guess it's all about scale. We're the biggest ticketing company in the world. We have the biggest promotions business in the world, and we've then formed a sort of ticketing vertical. So we put major live entertainment events on sale, and then we sell those tickets through this vertical channel into Ticketmaster. We want to grow that business, and to service that growing business, it becomes very expensive to keep adding contact center infrastructure. So we're looking for ways in which we can limit that financial exposure while still giving a great customer experience. We sell around 180 million tickets worldwide a year, and about 120 million of those are in North America on its own. International is effectively everything outside of the Americas. So that's a sort of map of our businesses. You can see there's quite a lot of businesses in the European mainland. Turkey, nicely positioned in the middle, and of course Australasia at the bottom as well. And that's around 60 million tickets from those businesses. So scale is one of the motivations to explore this technology. But the second one is about the business model and the complexities that we face on the international side of our business. So in the international business, we have a risk and reward model. And what that means is that we don't own the tickets. We effectively are the infrastructure, the reach into the marketplace to sell those tickets. And we earn revenue when we sell a ticket. We don't earn any money when we're servicing those customers. So it's all about how can we sell, maximize that revenue, and then reduce our ongoing obligation in terms of our budgetary restrictions. So the interesting thing is that in Europe, unlike North America, many of those markets that I've just shown you there, we do not have exclusive rights to sell those tickets. And we have this concept of what's called an allocation market. And that could mean, for instance, in the UK, we have a festival that goes on sale and there's 60,000 tickets. And Ticketmaster may be allocated maybe a third of those tickets. And then there would be a competitor who's allocated a further third. And it's quite conceivable that the promoter, the event organizer, will then retain the remaining tickets and then reward which ticketing agent is selling the most efficiently for him. So it's a very, very sort of competitive model, and it's based on risk and reward. It's fast-moving and unpredictable. So we don't know sometimes today what's going on sale in perhaps tomorrow or the day after. Sometimes it's very fast-moving. Literally, events will sell out in seconds or minutes because the demand is so high. Interestingly, in our contact centers, because of these very high demand events, we have to give notice to the telecoms carriers because they have a license obligation to protect their infrastructure. And people stampeding to get tickets for U2 or One Direction is not an excuse for most people to then lose their emergency services if they have to dial for an ambulance or the police. So when we get huge volumes and spikes in calls and bandwidth, there are mechanisms in place to protect the infrastructure. Obviously in Europe, it's a multi-language and a multi-currency operation. So, we have 11 languages that we have to support, and we have 5 different currencies as well. And our growth has been mainly by acquisition. So we'll go into a new marketplace that we feel that we want to be there, and we will either buy the first or the second ticketing operation in that marketplace. What that means, though, is that you acquire legacy infrastructures. You then have to perhaps review and do due diligence on that technology and introduce wherever you can consistent systems. And our customer service system is one way in which we, or one aspect of that we actually roll out in a consistent basis, with Inventor being in all of our markets. And it's increasingly competitive. We have an enormous infrastructure, but there are new emerging people coming onto the marketplace who have just a digital platform. They don't have contact center infrastructure to support. So therefore, they can disrupt the market as far as we're concerned. So we have to react to that as well. And of course, there is this enormous shift to digital. So around 97% of all our tickets now are sold online. So our contact centers now, the big question mark is how can we add strategic value to the business? So that's effectively the print-at-home ticket and the digital delivery to your mobile device, which is increasingly becoming the way in which customers are enjoying the convenience of that type of delivery. So really, it's all down to supporting customers digitally, and that's where the intelligent assistants come into place. We want to look at ways in which we can automate to reduce our costs, to deal with the scale. And we want to offer customer self-service because that's what our customers want. They want support at a time that is convenient to them. We want to reduce the customer effort. We track NPS, we track CSAT, but customer effort is probably the metric that fits our model probably better than most, in that when you have extreme demand for a limited or finite supply, it's very difficult to deliver customer satisfaction to all those people who wish to have those tickets. What we can do, though, is make the experience as easy as possible. So if the event is sold out, we will do messaging in the telecoms network to advise our customers that there are no tickets available. We will go online and say that we have no tickets available. So customers can either hang on to speak to an agent with the information that enables them to make an informed choice. And what we want to do is to start to move that support online with the customer as they go through that sales journey. So historically, and at this point in time, all our markets effectively have a standalone, discrete customer service, self-service system, but no support as they go through the website on the sales journey. We want to make it a seamless, single process as best we can. And this comes down to our explanation of our Darwinian evolution model. So around 13 years ago, we had quite an extensive knowledge base which worked really on just key search terms. And we had this knowledge base that was living and breathing, and new content was being added to it. But it was fairly limited in the way in which it could handle customer interactions. Around 4 years ago, we moved to Inventor, and we moved to natural language processing. It supports 11 languages, which is, again, a big challenge. We did the migration, I think 31 interfaces in a 7-week period, which was a fantastic challenge. And if you like, we started to progress. Now, that is effectively where we are on the customer service standalone model at the moment. So and I will show you the screens very shortly. The work that we're trying to do now in Turkey is effectively moving to support online during the sales journey using a very conversational knowledge base, a different knowledge base, one that is around generally questions that we would anticipate of customers going through the online sales journey, and then using feedback, real data from customers, to look at gaps in the knowledge base and improve it further. And the way in which we're doing that is primarily with an avatar. So the standalone customer service solution in all our international markets is very much where you go and you click on the help link and you go into a very structured knowledge base. You'll see the large buttons there where we've clustered pieces of content where you can quickly go through a shortcut to get to that content. And then we actually fix the most frequently searched pieces of content in the list of top 10 FAQs. And of course, there is the box where you can put a string of text in there that will then take you to the content that's relevant. So that's in place, works well. Self-service rates are around 96% on average across our international contact centers. So this is where we're moving to now. So in Turkey, we introduced the concept of the avatar. We're using effectively the lady on the right-hand side, but in a red jumper. We will move to the blue, which is our new branding, in the fullness of time. So online, we have an automated deployment model, and then we have a live agent deployment model as well. So it works like this. So that is the Bilitex Turkish website. And you can see that there is a widget or a label there that is online waiting for the customer. It can be configured, can be turned off. And sometimes we would want to turn it off during a really major on sale. Or we can have it configured based on a lapse of time between clicking. So it follows the customer through the journey. So that if the customer then clicks on that, the avatar is launched, Veronica, and there is a text box there. So the customer can then interact with Veronica. Veronica then has access to this very conversational, informal knowledge base. We use our tone of brand, so it's hi rather than hello. It's all very conversational and tries to flow as best it can. If the avatar is unable to handle the interaction, then we may offer what we call a web form or a contact form. And this is generally would be the case throughout the evening or through the night time, or if all agents are available. So the customer can then fill in the content relating to their inquiry and then submit it to the back office to handle. If we've got agents available, the avatar can hand off to the live agent, and the live agent can then take over seamlessly and then handle the inquiry through to resolution. So the model flows like this. Support is offered throughout the sales journey. The avatar is deployed on every occasion when it's requested, and then it will go through 3 different call flows. So self-service on the top, or the launch of a web form, or the launch of a live agent support. Hopefully, we end up with this resolution. So the avatar can handle the inquiry and the query is resolved. And that would be 100% automation. If the avatar cannot handle it, it will then hand off to the live agent, and the live agent will then hopefully go through to a query resolution with that customer. Whether there's a web form there or the agent who picks up off the avatar, there is a support ticket that goes into the Inventor backstage office so we can track everything. And the important thing is that if we can then resolve the inquiry, the important thing is to pick up that contact disposition. We want to know the reason why the customer asked for the information and why we couldn't resolve it as a self-service opportunity. We then launch a CSAT survey, and the important thing is that there is a feedback loop. So once we've resolved that inquiry, the gaps in the knowledge base are then filled through refreshing the knowledge base, putting new information into it. And I can't stress enough that this is our focus. We can handle one-on-one contacts quite well, but it's far more efficient to actually look at the knowledge base and try and maximize self-service. So the trial data, it is a short period. We've been working with Inventor probably since around June, I guess. We worked on several sort of versions of our avatar deployment, but we were, I think, satisfied with the information that we were getting from around the 12th of August this year. And we ran it through. It continues now, but I had to lock down the data for this presentation today, and I locked it down on Thursday of last week. So this is the daily profile comparing that period of time in 2014 against 2015. And it's very difficult in our business to do a direct apples versus apples comparison because events go on sale last year, may not be repeated this year. They could be at a slightly different time in the year. But generally, I hope that you can see there that the blue graph, 2015's data, the sales conversion is higher. And I think the average improvement is around 11% sales conversion. The scale has been removed, and I have to flick onto another scale now because that's the avatar conversion. And you can see it's significantly higher than if we looked at the 2014 data, which is the orange line underneath. Consistently, every day throughout that period of time, a significant improvement. The avatar conversion itself is on average 9.76%. During that period, the avatar was launched 107,000 times, and we had 927 live agent chat sessions that supported that avatar. Looking at other measures of success, we had self-service rate of 99.4%. Now what that means is that we had less than 1% wrap or follow-up work as a result of the avatar being launched. 86% first search resolution. So a customer sought support, the avatar gave support, the customer then took that content first time and then decided its route or navigation route out. So that could be leaving the site because there were no tickets for the event they were interested in, or then they carried on through to transaction. Interestingly, during that period of time, we have experienced a fall-off or a decline in calls coming into the contact center in Turkey of just over 7%. Of those calls, those residual calls coming into the call center, we have improved the call conversion by 30%, which seems to suggest that a lot of the support calls are being stopped online and not being presented to the call center, so true deflection. We are trying to measure the contact dispo forms to try and drive tech improvements. So I can't give you, because it's sensitive data here, but I can tell you that there has been contacts that have identified that there are errors in the event setup, that the customer has experienced and sought help. The avatar or the live agent has then escalated that to our tech teams to resolve the issue. Or indeed, there has been customer confusion. So they sought help because they don't really understand what is being presented to them. And CSAT. Now, I don't have CSAT scores for you because we're still in the sort of process of trying to deploy them. That's not that we don't have the questions. We have all the questions. We have all the forms ready to go. The issue that we have is that our analytics team in London actually run their own surveys. So we track NPS, we track CSAT, and there are random surveys that are offered to customers as they go through the online journey. What we're trying to understand is how our CSAT, to measure the CSAT of the avatar support, can be run without conflicting with their data. So we're ready to go, we just need to understand the conflicts. So next steps. I think we can probably start to look at experimenting to make that support widget, that label, probably more prominent than it is. 2.1% of unique visitors clicked for help. Now, I don't know whether 2.1% is all that needed support or whether some people didn't see that widget. So it'd be nice to experiment in the size, the color, the way in which we present that to the customers to see if that has an impact or not. We need to finalize the CSAT survey format so that we can actually get true customer feedback on whether they see it as an asset or not. We plan now to extend the trials to Sweden and UK by the end of this year. UK is the biggest international market, so that will give us some really good feedback, we think. And then we intend, subject to satisfactory survey results or trial results there, to migrate all our markets by the middle of next year. And the interesting one, and finally the interesting one, is that I'm interested in trying to use the avatar as a targeted upsell opportunity. The interesting thing is that we are trying to maximize the use of digital tickets, for instance. Now, it could be that if the avatar appeared at the point of what type or format of ticket that the customer requests, with some information, and encourages the customer to move to a digital solution, it may well be that we help the customer and we actually help the business going forward. And that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Curious to know what kind of information you wanted from your customers. You mentioned at the end you were collecting that. I was curious to know what sort of specific vectors you were targeting, please.
The feedback that we want from the customers obviously is their CSAT results, which we're not yet in a position to get clearly for the reasons I outlined. What we're interested in doing, though, is identifying gaps in the knowledge base, because we see this as a living, breathing knowledge base. And only by getting the feedback through those disposition reports is how we understand where those gaps in the knowledge base are, so we can enrich that and avoid similar questions going forward. I think the interesting thing is it's our first experiment of moving support online to follow the customer throughout the journey. And it's the only evidence, the only experience we have of that at this stage, and we're still in a very learning position. But generally it's about how can we use that knowledge base, how can we make the knowledge base more relevant to help customers move through their sales journey as smoothly, as easily as possible.
How important is the actual avatar to what you're trying to do, and what's your thinking behind that?
It's an interesting point, because when we intend to expand it to Sweden, we intend to have a static chat box with just an icon. In Turkey, we use the avatar Veronica just to see what the reaction was from the customers. And I think you probably saw a bit of a spike at the start of the graph. I don't know whether that's a novelty factor. I think that the moving avatar is more engaging than a static chat box. That's my personal belief. I have no evidence to support that. So I think it's about experimenting with different formats and seeing what the outcomes are.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil, for the presentation. Really clear numbers. And I have a few questions. Like you mentioned effort.
Yes.
How do you measure effort?
Okay, so effort is, interestingly, and I forgot the authors now, but there was a paper that came out of Harvard Business School probably around 8 years ago now that suggested that loyalty and NPS and CSAT was all very important, but people who filled in forms and gave feedback that suggested that they were very loyal customers and would return in fact didn't. And some people who filled in with adverse feedback actually returned and became a return customer. So they said the relationship, the correlationship of CSAT was not necessarily the same. So customer effort is more about how easy was it? And that's the question we ask. How easy was it for you to get what you needed from Ticketmaster today? And there is a scale of 1 to 5, and we use that to try and track the customer effort score.
Okay, so it's you ask the customers that you track, like the actions or the time that it takes for them to take the action or things like this. You directly ask.
Yeah, we directly ask. That's right.
And you mentioned conversions from the avatar.
Yes.
So through the usage of the avatar, as the customer, like I can end up in like things like, I guess, buying a ticket or things like what is a conversion?
So I probably should have explained that a little differently. The conversion rate, the graph that you saw, was effectively where someone had clicked on the widget, had sought a conversation with the avatar, and then had continued with that support open through to checkout. So the suggestion is, I guess, that the use of the avatar has helped that customer go through to and purchase a ticket with us. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is the average throughout that period was 9.7%, where the unsupported conversion in the same period last year was less than 2%. Now, I have no evidence to suggest that the avatar is entirely the reason why that happened, but you have to use the evidence that's available to you. And the evidence suggests to us that the avatar has helped our conversion rate. And therefore, leads us to the next stage, which is widening the trial to another market, to another set of demographics to see if it helps there as well. But that's a significant improvement, huge improvement. When I presented that conversion rate to our market MDs about 3 weeks ago, they all want it. They're pushing me to introduce the JavaScript in their websites so that we can make it available. They can turn it on if they want, they can turn it off if they want, but they all wanted the ability to do that.
So if I understand this correctly, if I'm a user, I go to the web page like without any support interactions, like ultimately 2% of all these visits end up in a sale. Since you implemented the avatar, overall this grew to 9%.
No. So overall, the increase is around 12%, comparing 2014 with 2015. That 12% improvement is directly as a result of the avatar.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thank you.
But only 2.1% of customers, unique visitors to the site, clicked help.
Okay, so only 2.1% overall click.
Yeah, very low numbers. Now, but I don't understand whether that's because only 2.1% of the people wanted help, or whether the others didn't see the help support or not. And we need to experiment now on the prominence of that to see if it has an impact. Okay.
Actually, one more question. Sorry, Dan. Are we way over? Yeah. Well, Larry, you're coming up here. Why don't you ask it? Just one more question.
Okay, sure.
The question I have actually is for a vertical like ticketing, and it's not strictly related to what you presented here, but do you have any strategic roadmap for the scenario where I will just say, hey Siri, I want to have 2 tickets for the U2 concert?
Well, the short answer is no, we don't. It's an interesting, I had a discussion over lunch actually about the way in which the ticketing business works. And I need to give a little bit of an explanation of how it works. For instance, we don't own the ticket. A promoter, an event organizer, will stage the event, and they will choose whether they wish us to sell their tickets or not. If they entrust us to put their inventory onto our systems, then we will sell it. But the terms and conditions, the price, is all set by the event organizer. And the discussion that I had over lunch was that some promoters, for whatever reason, best be known to themselves, particularly want high press attention and take a certain amount of joy in the fact that our website, our infrastructure goes under pressure because of very high volume events. It's great for their artists, isn't it, to say that the One Direction on sale caused the Ticketmaster infrastructure to go down, or to experience 1 million calls in the first 30 minutes of the on sale. Sometimes it's about catching headlines rather than the customer experience. And we are the meat in the sandwich between those two, unfortunately.
Okay, great. Let's give thanks to Phil here.
Okay, thank you.